Good evening, ma'am. We are pleased to welcome Miss Nupura Nanivadekar, a seasonal banking and a fintech professional with her entrepreneurship journey, with over 14 years of experience in product management, process improvement, and digital transformation. Currently serving as CEO at Loan Sifarish, her own venture, she specializes in loan syndication and structured financial products. Prior to this, she held leadership roles including product head and senior vice president at IDFC First Bank, where she played a key role in driving business banking innovation with deep expertise in building digital platforms, optimizing financial processes, and enabling scalable growth. She brings a powerful blend of banking experience and entrepreneurship insight. She is also passionate about inspiring young professionals and contributing to the startup ecosystem. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep. Are we good to begin?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. So, good evening, everybody. At the outset, thank you, Anguja, and thank you, Mr. Sandeep, and thank you to SIS School of Business for having me here. It is indeed a privilege to be on the other side, having been there, in all your places where you stand right now, a couple of years ago. And as I see it from my perspective, what I see is a room. While I'm assuming we are in different rooms, but I see all of you as a room full of future leaders. I think people are still joining. Do you want to wait or? Okay.
Ma'am, no,
So,
ma'am, you can start.
sure. So I see all of you not just as MBA students, but I see all of you as future leaders, future innovators, future decision makers, and you know all of you who will contribute to not just the world of business, but who will you will also be change makers in your own capacity. That is uh, how I look at all of you. So if I am able to add some value and inspire some of you even a wee bit, then I think this 1 hour will be fruitful for all of us. Right. Let me. So while Mr. Sandeep has taken you all through my journey, I would like to delve a little more deeper from my perspective and just take you through how it has been and what are my learnings or takeaways from this journey. Right. So I am an engineer by profession, and like many of you may be here, I do not know the mix and the backgrounds. However, engineer plus MBA in marketing and doing a job in a bank. Right. Typical. I don't know whether this typical profile still exists, but yes, during our times we had a lot of this combination where engineers first became engineers, went into marketing, and then did finance jobs. Though anyway, so that's how the journey began. But at HDFC Bank, HDFC Bank was my placement from CSCOMs, and I got into the bank, went through a training, and was allotted a role in sales to begin with. Now, most of you, or most of us at that point of time, some of my friends and colleagues got into product management, some got into investment banking, some got into wholesale banking, and then when I got into sales, initially I was a little disappointed. I said, sales, really? After doing MBA in marketing, this, that, am I going to do sales? But then now that I look at it, I think it was a blessing in disguise. Because as I see it, experience on the ground, meeting the customer, facing your own sales team, if you have sales executives whom you are going to lead, it changes you as a person. It gives you a lot of perspective which you would not get sitting inside a closed room or in a corporate office right in the beginning. So I think that part helped me a lot. I was into sales in the beginning, and then because I wanted to get into product management, process management, after 2 years of doing hardcore sales, got into product development. And then because there were, as all of you would get into bank, some of you may get into banks and other corporate areas, you would know that when a person moves roles, there are already your peers in different products. So the so-called, the bread and butter products, the current account, savings accounts products were already taken up by some other product managers. And I was assigned something called as task. Okay. And task, just for clarity, stands for trusts, associations, societies, and clubs. So these are specific liability bank accounts like savings and current accounts meant for these institutions. Now, at that time, way back, and this was in 2007, Task was not a very well known product in the banking industry. So even HDFC Bank's portfolio, when I had joined in, was just a few lakhs. And people, so the branch managers did not know about this product at all. So it was upon me to take this ahead and build this product, make it into a portfolio from a product. And that was really a challenge at that point of time, because there were no processes, there were no systems, there were no rules, there were no escalation metrics, nothing was there. So I had to build it from scratch. Of course, I had my senior and mentor who really guided me into this. But then, so from building this product from scratch to taking it, when I left HDFC Bank in 2015, it was a 15,000 crore portfolio. So from a few lakhs to building it to a 15,000 crore portfolio, it was now, I didn't know it then, but now when I look at it, I had already sort of become an entrepreneur within a bank. While I was not, I was employed and I did not have my own venture, but then building this product and portfolio and taking it. So when you get into product management, while so some of you may know, it is not just managing a product. It does not mean a product bana diya. Okay, product management is much more than that. It says once you do a market testing, build features, it is even the product manager's job to ensure your product grows. That is, the branch managers or the sales teams sell your product. So you have to push your product. You have to talk about how it helps. You have to talk about why they should be selling it. Because if you know, in a retail bank, there are close to 30 products that a branch manager is supposed to sell. How do you make your product? Every product manager is pushing in. There is insurance, there is current accounts, there is gold, there are multiple products. So this itself was a journey, which was, and it, of course, it took 10 long years to build this into a portfolio of 15,000 crores. So that was pretty exciting in itself. Of course, I was handling a couple of multiple other products, but this for me, in my as a person personally, is my I see that as a success for me. After that, I moved to IDFC First Bank. When I moved to IDFC First Bank, it was not a bank. As you would know, IDFC got license. It is one of the new age banks. It is not there since HDFCs and the ICICIs of the world. So we were a part of the founding team since 2015, and saw the transition from IDFC Limited to IDFC to it becoming a bank. And to make it a new age bank was another challenge in itself, because we had to compete with the likes of HDFC, ICICI, Axis, who were all very well established in the market. So something had to be done for the bank and its products to stand out. So digital was the key area of the key area of interest of the management, and digitization of a current account was something that was assigned to me. Now, if you know current accounts are accounts opened for businesses, not for individuals. And when it comes to businesses, see, when it comes to an individual, it's very simple. You have a Aadhaar, you have a PAN, you have a photograph, address proof, and it's done. But for an entity, it's a lot more than these simple things. So digitizing a current account is a lot more challenging than digitizing an individual account. So again, the digital innovation came into there was this innovation play that came into IDFC Bank, and that's where I learned a lot. Because how do you make a system from a scratch? How do you digitize a very small thing? While it seems very easy once it's done, but a lot of effort and a lot of challenges go along the way. So that was the stint in IDFC Bank. Okay, then what happens is I decide, okay, fine, we've done. I was on the liability side all through these 14 years of banking. And liability, if you ask me, is a push product. So all of us have savings accounts, all of us have accounts, right? Nobody really, unless it's the first bank account we are opening, it's a very, very push product. People don't really open a second or a third account very, very easily. So it was so given those years, I thought I must have some role into assets, where asset is a pull product, because when we say assets are loans, and loans are a pull product, which is why the idea of starting something of my own, that too in assets, came into being. Now again, assets, you can do retail loans, you can do corporate loans. How do you choose what to do? Then we first started out, me and my co-founder first started out into retail loans, because we had been through, both of us are bankers, and had been through this retail journey where we saw a lot of cases, lot of loan files that can't get approved by banks. There is a gap over there, and we thought it can be fulfilled by some other institution, and that is where we thought, as intermediaries, we could come and fill that gap. However, very, very soon we realized that there is no entry barrier into this business, that anybody can just give a reference to some other bank, some other NBFC, some other financial institution. There's hardly any entry barrier. So this is not the place where we wanted to be. So very quickly we pivoted into corporate loans. And today what we do is, we raise funds for institutions, financial institutions, wherever the raw material is money. That is, for NBFCs, for MFIs, for fintechs, for gold loan companies, wherever they need to give loans to the end customer, we arrange funds for these kind of institutions through other banks, other financial institutions, larger NBFCs. And now the role is not just restricted to a simple term loan, but we also added a lot of products to the bouquet, like pool buy sell transactions, which are called direct assignments, PTCs, NCDs. A lot of those things have got added over the year. So everything was fine. It was a good success. It was a good story to talk about till COVID hit. And once COVID hit, that is where the real test began, because everything was shut. There was no business. And I think just within 6 months of starting this venture, COVID hit. So we were really panic stricken for some time as to what to do. So that is where, when we talk about entrepreneurship, when everyone talks about entrepreneurship, what comes to the mind is uncertainty, lot of long hours, putting in lot of effort, patience. These are the uncertainty associated with the revenue stream. These are the typical points that come to any of our minds when it comes to entrepreneurship. But then what we should also talk about is the impact and the independence and the power to build something, which is what is ignored by a lot of people who feel that entrepreneurship is very risky. So just to continue from where I left off, COVID came. It was a test of patience, perseverance, and we just held on. We said, no, let's build something while business is not happening. So we strengthened our processes. We had some staff, we did hiring, but then we had to cut their salary. So it was a very, very, very tough time. Obviously, there was no revenue, but then we held on, we persevered, we kind of navigated through the situation and continued. There was a choice to go back to work, but then we held on. So perseverance is the key in such at such moments, and that is where, the conviction that you have really comes into play. Right now, that is why I say that when we talk about entrepreneurship, we should talk about the impact that you are likely to bring about when you want to do your own venture, and the independence it gives you. And especially for women, independence, I think, is very, very critical. The power that you have when you are independent, something that you can call your own, gives a lot of confidence and strength in its own self, right? Now, since we want to talk about entrepreneurship and success stories and successful people, let's talk about few very well-known women entrepreneurs whom all of you are aware about. But we are aware about what they did and how successful are they. But do we know how they started? What were the challenges they faced? Very quickly, not dwelling too much into deep, but we all know, all the ladies in the group know about Nika. We all love Nika. We know about Falguni Nair, right? Falguni Nair started Nika at what age? She started Nika at the age of 50. When most women would think about slowing down a little, chalo now, we are at 50, now let's relax, let's take time off, let's live life, let's do our hobbies. At that age, this woman thought, let me do something new, and she started this venture. What was she doing prior to that? She was a very, very successful banker. She was the managing director of Kotak Mahindra Securities. She was advising large corporations on M&As, acquisitions, funding, a very, very powerful profile that she already had. But then she wanted to make that difference and start something of her own, which she did. But then, is it what do we know from her example? What should we learn from her? We should learn two multiple things. One, age is not a barrier. It is never too early, never too late, never the right time or the perfect time. But at the same time, it is not just about that, okay, I want to do something and I just blindly go into starting something. It is about having knowledge. It is about detailed study, detailed research of what you think you should do, and is it really scalable, is it really feasible. So this lady did research of multiple areas which she thought she could get into, and finally zeroed in and then realized that in the cosmetic brand segment there is no organized market. There, that is the gap which she saw and which she decided to bridge. And with domain knowledge, which was, I think, her superpower, she added more value to what was existing in the market. She built trust. How did she build trust? So first, Nika started online. People started buying, people started enjoying. So she had to do a lot of educational videos. She had to do a lot of, education to tell people that the products that she's selling are original, they are not fakes, they are not duplicates. So first, trust building. Once the trust builds, repeat customers do come in, the sales increased. And only after testing and this going ahead, that is when she started her retail brick and mortar Nika stores. So there was no rush into something. There was no hurry to just scale without thinking. A very, very disciplined, well researched, planned approach. And that is what led to her success. Calculated risks, if I may put it. Right? Then let's talk about another such powerful lady. We all know of Biocon. We all know of Kiran Mazumdar Shaw. I think everybody has heard about her. But do we know how she started? Her father was a brewmaster. Okay. She was in the brewing beer industry. Her father was in that industry. And by her qualification, she also took up zoology. And she had actually taken professional education from abroad. And she was, I don't know how many of you know, she was or is India's first female brewmaster. So that is where her roots were. She started and entered into this industry. However, this industry being a completely male dominated industry, she found it very hard to break those barriers. And then that was something that triggered her to decide that, okay, if there is a male dominated sector and if I'm not able to succeed here, let me do something of my own. But then did she do something haywire that, okay, अब ये नहीं चला तो कुछ कुछ भी कर लेते हैं? नहीं. What did she do? Her knowledge of zoology, her knowledge of everything in brewery is to do with fermentation. Now, if you know Biocon, they make insulins, they make enzyme related stuff, again related to fermentation. She took up something very, very related, close to her subject, started from her house garage with 10,000 rupees and built the empire that Biocon is today. So again, all these people are showing us that they have something has triggered them. It is either passion, it is vengeance, it is pure need to do something, but they all have done something in a very, very calculated manner with a lot of thought process behind it. We can cite various examples. There is Vinita Singh from Sugar Cosmetics. She had multiple failures before sugar became a success. Now she, we see her on Shark Tank. Everybody aspires to be like her, but then has she got there easily? No, there were multiple failures that she had to go through before she actually reached where she is. So what does this all tell us? That these are signals that we are getting from these women, telling us that that women are capable of not just leading, building businesses, but also transforming industries altogether. Right? So that is the power. If you have conviction and if you are sure that you want to do what you have decided, that can be done. Now let's bring all these are very global sort of examples. Most of you know about these. Let's bring these, narrow these down to something that's very, very close to you in terms of how it can affect you or how you can get impacted by these. Now, all of you are PGD students, all of you are MBA students. You learn about operations, business, finance, all marketing, everything, right? So you have the knowledge that there are many founders or many entrepreneurs who don't have a marketing or an MBA or a finance degree, but they are learning this as they progress. What is the advantage that you all have? That you are already equipped with all this knowledge. Now, whether you are using this knowledge to build your own empire or to contribute to somebody else's empire is a choice that you have to make. But what I want to communicate through this session is that most people feel that when it comes to innovation or when it comes to entrepreneurship, the norm seems to be like, okay, let's build a tech company. That is innovation. Let's build a tech brand. Let's build a website. Let's do this. Innovation or entrepreneurship is as simple as solving a problem. I think the key to entrepreneurship and innovation is to solve a problem that exists. The key here is that there should be a problem that you're trying to solve and not just address something just because you want to become an entrepreneur. नहीं मुझे बनना है entrepreneur तो मैं कुछ भी कर लूंगा या कर लूंगी. That's not what it should be. Find a problem to solve. Once you have a problem to solve, check whether the product or the service that you feel there is a gap, is this sustainable? Is this sustainable in the long term? Sustainable, is this need going to continue or will it not continue? Is there a digitization that I can bring along? Because these days the digital becomes more easily accessible, because access to whatever you do is key. You build something and people don't know about it, so it's like having a product but no distribution. Doesn't work. So if I were to give a very simple example in the recent times that I feel is a disruptor or an innovator in its category, is a very simple service called Snabbit. All of you would have heard of Snabbit. What does Snabbit do? Anybody knows? Are we okay to have an interactive session? I hope that's fine.
Uh, yes, ma'am.
Or later.
Actually, Snapbit can. I have heard about it, ma'am. It's a maid service platform, I think so.
Correct.
I can be wrong
Correct.
regarding this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a platform that provides house help. Now, is that a problem? It's a huge problem in India. House help. House help आई नहीं, हाउस हेल्प छोड़ के चली गई, हाउस हेल्प. बट so it's a big problem. It's a simple app, a platform to address this need. You just log in, put in your details, and you have a help at an affordable price. And it's a win-win situation, because in a country like ours, where employment is absolutely available, where people are, lots of unemployed people exist, providing employment, fulfilling the need. And I think so it is everything that I said. It solves a problem, it is sustainable, it is digital, and it is easy to access. So these are examples of innovation and entrepreneur, everything combined together, which 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 are key. And these are things like these should be thought about, right? Also, why it becomes easier in today's day and kind is that today there are a lot of platforms that are promoting and helping entrepreneurs. There are incubator cells in colleges. There are, I'm sure, SIS also has an incubation cell. We have a lot of these sessions where industry leaders help out, fund, guide, mentor. All of these things are available. Yet, why do we see a lot of hesitation in women in particular, or even in others, to become entrepreneurs? And my view of this hesitation is that majorly the hesitation lies in the head. It is the fear of failure. It is sometimes lack of confidence. It is sometimes expectations from society. But what we should understand here is that failure is a part of the journey. Like I mentioned, all the entrepreneurs that you, if you read their stories, at some point in time they have failed. But the key here is to rise up, to learn from that failure and rise up from there, and then solve the issue that happened and not make the same mistakes again. Very cliched, everybody talks about it, but yes, that is truly what it is. So what do you need to do? When you say entrepreneurship, सबको क्या लगता है कि कॉलेज से निकलो सीधा अपना बिजनेस डालो. It need not be like that. Okay, entrepreneurship can evolve over the years, like we talked about Falguni, who started at 50. It can evolve straight out of college, and I'm going to give you a few more examples of student startups. Or it can happen anytime. Like I said, I switched midway after, say, about 15 odd years, and then started. Sometimes it also helps to first have some industry experience, to learn from professional, how a professional culture management works. It helps you in your entrepreneurial journey to run it like a professional setup rather than running it like a family business. Talking of family businesses, is joining your family business anything lesser? Absolutely not. It's a great idea. It is something that somebody, maybe your parents or your relatives, have already invested time, energy, money, everything into it. Why not take it to the next level? That is also entrepreneurship. Multiple such entrepreneurs are there. The next generation of their family have taken the business to the next level. Take Haldiram, for example. Haldiram was a much lesser known brand till couple of years ago, till the new generation stepped in, export started, marketing started, everything started. There are many such brands. There are, these home family run jeweler businesses. Many of them were not known earlier. When their next generation has come in, they have gotten online jewelry, they have gotten office jewelry. So there are multiple avenues where your entrepreneurial journey can begin. But it is the belief in yourself that you want to, be a part of this startup environment. That is something that you should have in you, so that you can take things ahead easily. So like I said, I want to give you some examples, which are, see, examples of Biocon, Nika, multiple others are very, very well known. But every day when we live our life, around us there are multiple entrepreneurs whom we see, whom we don't know about. So I'm going to tell you a couple of more. So now, me being from a financial services sector, one of my customers who's really impressed me, it's a startup. I want to talk about that for a couple of minutes. You can look up after this session. There is an app. Okay, there are a lot of fintechs, and especially who provide quick access loans, small ticket personal loans, not just to everybody but also to students. So I want to talk about an entity called, as the app is called Credit C, C as in Samandar, SEAC. So Credit C has been started by it's almost like a student startup. Okay, there is this 22-year-old by the name, he's the CEO, Nilansh Kabra. He went to the US, did his master's from Carnegie Mellon University, and he and his family hail from Raipur. Now, while he was doing his college project, he was assigned a project to find out about access to credit in the United States and how easy the barriers, what it. So while doing this project, he applied for a credit card, and within minutes, he was assigned a credit card. And after finishing his master's, when he came back to India and tried to do the same in India, that took a really long time for him. And being a student at that point of time, it was really, really tough for him to get a credit card. That really, that now, moments like these are the turning points which, can make you an entrepreneur. So he suddenly realized that there is a gap in this segment for formal credit. Like, it's difficult for students to get credit, maybe not be a credit card. So he started this online fintech named as Credit C, where you can get access in minutes, small ticket access in minutes. He has built this company from a five people company to a 500. It today the staff stands at 500, and it is in Chhattisgarh, in a place called Raipur. So person graduating from abroad, when he came across this problem, he decided that, okay, I'm going to do something about it, and is now a hugely successful startup. That's one example. Then there is something called, as you can also look up after the session, please look up one website called as Eleftheria Cheese. Okay, a very dear friend of mine by the name Mosam Narang. Again, did she start off? No, she was a banker. She worked in Deutsche Bank. Then she worked in Siemens for a few years, then Capgemini abroad, and then decided that, look, this is, this routine job. I don't want to do this anymore, and I want to start something of my own. What is the gap that she identified? She identified, and because she was staying abroad, she knew, she came across various types of cheese that we eat, multiple types that are available. And when she came back to India, realized that here, when you say cheese, we only know of cheese as Amul cheese, Britannia cheese, and that's all processed cheese with animal fat. No real artisanal cheese existed in India. So she took it upon her to manufacture cheese, and she started from her own home, from her own room, did a lot of research, started procuring milk directly from the farmers, made it in first started in her room, and now she has her own factory, and she supplies to the best of hotels in the country. It's a B2B business, but she only caters to the high end hotels. It's a luxury segment brand. She makes corporate gift hampers, so you can again look up Eleftheria cheese. It's an amazing journey if you see. But how is this different now? She has identified a segment. Okay, cheese is good, but has she just started making cheese and giving it to everybody? No. She decided that her cheese, based on whatever effort, cost, will be a premium brand. It will be accessible, and premium brand has to go in India. People still today don't know about multiple types of cheese. Till I met her, I did not know that there were so many types of cheese that can be used in a gourmet. And that is why she said that, okay, this has to go into the best of hotels because they know the value. She didn't stop at that. She sent her cheeses to Norway. There is a cheese championship that happens every year in Norway, and multiple of her cheeses have won awards at Norway Cheese Festival. That's an amazing journey, like, starting from a room to winning international awards, and, standing for her. So now she literally represents India with her brand of cheese. So that's the power of doing something of your own and where it can take you, right? Then I mean, we can go on and on, but since we are all on this forum, I would again like to highlight some more student startups. Like, there is this, again, look up something called as Pocket Gluca. Now this girl named Mahi is a type 1 diabetic right from birth, and obviously being a type 1 diabetic needs glucose at any point of time because sugar levels fluctuate, and therefore realized this problem because of her own issue that she had, and now has made something called as Pocket Gluca, which is an easily accessible organic brand of glucose, which can be used not just for patients like hers, but it can be used by athletes, it can be used by seniors whose blood sugar levels fluctuate, and she started selling them. So this is a very this you may not find news articles or something about her because she is really at a very small scale right now, but the motivation to do something which she knows is because it's her problem, can be a problem to many others, to actually start production, to actually start sales, and to be successful, that itself is a very commendable thing for her, is what as I see it. And in all these examples, what is common is that whatever they have chosen, be it cheese, be it glucose, these are all scalable things. Like, so when I say, if she would have said that I want to make glucose only for diabetic patients, then she's suddenly narrowing down her market size altogether. But because this is a category which is needed by athletes, by any other person who needs instant energy, the market size suddenly opens up. So that again is a very critical aspect when you come to decide whether your product or your service is scalable, not scalable, what is the addressable market, all those jargons you hear in Shark Tank, application in real life, right? So we could, you could find many multiple others. There is something, talking currently of the stress that exists. There is something called Your Dost. I don't, I think you guys would have know, maybe you guys know this. This is again a IIT, IIT Bombay, I think. It's a IIT alumnus startup. She realized the stress that exists among students. There is a need for emotional and mental health and mental well-being, and she started this app called Your Dost. Now, what she did, smart thing was, who are the people who are going to fund this app? These are the corporates, these are, institutions, educational institutions like ours, who will subscribe to the to counseling sessions, and she has onboarded counselors on her platform. The institutions subscribe to it, so that either their employees or their students have ready access to emotional or mental support, counseling support whenever needed. Okay, so multiple such examples. We can go on and on about many such examples who have solved problems, who have addressed issues, and are doing fabulously well for them. And these, where were these? These are not made in boardrooms. These are made sometimes at your home when you come across a problem. These are made in classrooms when you're discussing problems with your friends. These could be made in hostels. This could be anywhere where the idea strikes you, right? Question is whether you grab that opportunity that exists or not. So, like I said, it is in the head whether you want to do something about it or just say, oh, yes, this is a problem, right? Now, talking about some quick statistics, the state that we live in, Maharashtra, I am told there are 45% woman-led startups in Maharashtra. In Bombay itself, there are more than 1,500 woman-led startups. So it is these women who have the potential and have decided to, transform the areas of their interest. As I see it, when you consider, even today, you will see on the roads there are a lot of women rickshaw drivers, which were not to be seen at all a couple of years back. These ladies are also entrepreneurs for me. Small shops, again, coming financial, I'll give you a lot of financial examples because I come from that background. There's something called as microfinance. Microfinance is giving finance to the grassroots, last mile person. Every woman borrower in a microfinance industry is an entrepreneur. What is she doing? She may be running a tailoring shop. She may be running a tiffin service. She may be doing a small, any service or product that is needed. Those, all these women, anybody you see, are these are entrepreneurs, right? Now, after talking so much about entrepreneurs and innovation and startups, I think what is also important to know, that because you all are likely potential change makers, what you should not do. It is important to discuss what should not be done. Like all these things you should do. You should have the confidence. You should take it upon you to do this, that, all of those nice things. What should you not do? And what are these things that the successful entrepreneurs may not have done in their journey, or may have done and then realized should not have been done, right? So don't start without having a problem at hand. Okay, so let's say okay, I'll take my personal example. I love sketching, I love painting. Lot of times before joining a bank, or even after joining a bank, I decided, why am I not pursuing this as a career? I should do this because this is what I love to do. So this is more of my passion project for me. When I actually went down researching, how can I make money in this? Is this scalable? I realized that this business, at least I may be wrong, but when I walked in to a mall and I saw an art gallery and I saw fabulous paintings, original ones, selling at dirt cheap rates. You go to Jahangir Art Gallery, there are outside Jahangir Art Gallery, artists, superb artists, very good paintings selling at 500 rupees, 1000 rupees. So at least at that point of time, for me, it didn't seem like a profession. It was like a passion project, and I was not solving a problem. Maybe there still is a market which I was not able to think about or not able to crack, because there is this niche of interior decorators who need artists, who need paintings, and that is something that should be done. But what I'm trying to tell you through this example is that because you are passionate about something, Don't just rush into making it a business without understanding how you are going to carve a niche out of it. What is that one target segment that you want to follow where you can make that money, and what should you do to get into that segment? Okay, so what not to do? Don't start without having a problem at hand. Secondly, don't ignore cash flows. Multiple examples of industries, corporations, startups going bust because they just focused on fast paced sales without checking their bottom lines. Jet Airways ran into big trouble, could not buy aircraft, could not pay salaries, could not refuel their aircraft because rushed into multiple things too fast. So you have to, giving heavy discounts without, just for the purpose of driving sales, without really checking what are your margins, is a recipe for failure. So be wary of that. Don't try to do everything yourself because अब मैं entrepreneur बना हूं या बनी हूं, सब कुछ मुझे ही करना है. I want to have control over everything. Biggest mistake. You will never, nobody can do everything. Delegate, take help, discuss, hire. But when you say hire, again, word of caution, don't hire too early, too fast. I, before testing, before having any proof of the pudding, I'm hiring 10 people, paying salaries, and then no profits. Again, a problem. So, very calculated, very well thought through. And I need not tell you how to calculate the financials. You are taught that. We, all of us in our postgraduate programs, learn how what how to make ratios, how to calculate the health, financial health. So those mistakes are things that should not be done. Then once you start, don't ignore what your customer is saying. Customer feedback. If you don't listen, if you feel that what I have done is what my customer wants, I thought that is what my customer wants, but maybe that's not what he wants. So, getting live feedback and doing something about it. See, everybody collects feedback. Everybody has a form, please give your feedback. Everybody puts rating, star, but do they really work on that feedback? That is what differentiates the successful ones from the ones who are simply just taking feedbacks, right? Then legal and compliance. Okay. Legalities, rules, compliances absolutely cannot be ignored. If you're working in whatever domain, now again, coming back to financial background, RBI is the mother, father, God, everything. RBI, legal contracts, proper agreements. These are all, we don't understand the importance of it. And a lot of entrepreneurs start and say, अच्छा ये मेरा friend है ना, इसके साथ मेरा informal tie-up है, वो मैं कर लूंगा उसके साथ या मैं कर लूंगी उसके साथ. Again, please don't get in when you're doing a business, try to run it professionally. And when there is professionalism, formal contracts, proper agreements, proper memorandum of understandings. These are important aspects which will again make it scalable, which will avoid conflict in the future. So don't ignore these things. Then lastly, focus on your mental health because a lot of entrepreneurs are a victim of burnout. You see very young people, health issues, heart attacks. These are things. If I mean, we are doing everything that we want to do for our well-being and our future. If we are unable to maintain our own health, what's the use of doing all this? So those things are things which are non-negotiable. So having said all of this, I I think that all of you whom again, and I again reiterate, are potential change makers, potential future leaders, are capable of building companies, leading industries, creating employment for people. When I talked about impact, that you should talk about impact. What is the impact an entrepreneur brings? He generates employments. It is the largest impact one can have and drive economic growth. So what you need to do is to start asking yourself that, is there a problem that I need to solve? And then how can I make connections, talk to people, talk to like-minded friends, take build networks around that particular industry or sector where you want to start your business. And those are the people who will guide you, mentor you. Even simple discussions can spark a lot of ideas which can be helpful to us. So there is, again, like I said, there is no perfect time. Whenever you are sure that your plan is foolproof and you know that you have worked on all the nuances of your business, that is the time, that is the right time for you. So I think I it's been quite a long monologue, and you guys, I hope you're not asleep and all of you are awake. So I will stop here, and if there are any questions, happy to take any questions, or we can, just end this session. Sandeep and Professor Agarwal, to you.
Yeah, students, just feel free to ask questions if you have any.
Good evening, ma'am. I have a question. What skills should students focus on today if they build a career in fintech or product management?
What field should they focus on?
Yes, ma'am.
So see, product management. So I am assuming when you say product management, it is related to the financial industry, because product management exists across multiple sectors. Okay. Now, whether it is it see, there is no right and wrong in what a particular person wants to do. Fintech is the flavor of the season, no doubt. But then my view is everything is integrated. In terms of a fintech also exists with some product. It could be a personal loan, it could be a gold loan, it could be a business loan. So there is a product or a service that needs to be managed even by that fintech. So once you get your product or service right, then whether you want to sell it the physical way, or whether you want to, is it capable of being digitized into a fintech, that depends on the product that you are into. For example, just to make it more clear, if somebody is into personal loans, then yes, personal loan can be done online. Personal loan approval in minutes and all, everybody hears of it. But if you are doing like a mortgage loan, loan against property, home loans, now those things you can digitize them to a certain extent. But a physical, since there is a mortgage that exists, there is a physical leg to it. So then it is called phygital. So, in today's age, if you were to talk from an industry growth perspective, both are equally, what do I say, awarding, rewarding. But yes, my personal favorite would be fintechs.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, Miss Nupura. So I think even I was facing some internet issues, so I just missed out some of the today's session's portion. But whatever I understand, the entire session was very simple, insightful, and easy to understand. And what I think is students could easily relate to your journey, right? It's almost very similar. Your journey is very similar to what our students go through. But one thing is we notice that many of our students they want to go into their own startup, but many times they they fear of failure, right? And many of the
Correct,
times they want to start their own business along with their job,
correct. Okay,
right? So
okay.
what do you think? What kind of strategy they should follow to maintain to go ahead with their job along with their business?
Okay.
Any, any,
That's a very common thing to do. I understand. So whether in IT parlance, if you call it moonlighting, see, that is something that is informally done by a lot of people. But then, yes, technically, can you do it? I mean, legally, can you do it? You cannot do it. But if you were to see, it's a very obvious thing that you need money to fund your startup. So that is why they start by doing their job. I feel once you have learned enough in your job, are at a comfortable position where you have certain savings which can fund you for, let's say, a particular time period. Let's keep a runway for our own selves. Let's call that runway a 6-month runway. So let's say I decide I'm currently doing a job, I have accumulated enough savings that can sustain me for a runway of 6 months, within which I am confident that even if after quitting within 6 months, if I don't earn anything, I will still sustain. At that point of time, you can probably quit. And I'm assuming there is a plan as to what you're going to do. Implement that plan. Give yourself time for 6 months. Even after 6 months, if this particular person starts earning something, it is a good start. And then the growth will come. But that initial, so either we have that your own savings who that are going to fund your initial growth phase, or savings from, a loan from parents or loan from someone, loan that can be a good way. It's not a good idea to do it while you're working, because if one, it's not allowed, and two, if you get caught, that is another issue altogether. You should gather enough savings and then have a plan and then start. And I'm hoping that the job that somebody currently does is relevant to what they're starting, so that the learnings from your corporate or your job can be put to use in your startup.
Makes sense. Yeah. Students, do you have any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. I'm having a question. Ma'am, as most of the students are pursuing PGDM, and most of the students are pursuing PGDM because of the placements to pursue the
Because of the
future job prospectors, what they are having. Ma'am,
okay,
it can be difficult for students to convince their parents to do a startup as they have paid a hefty fees uh, from their
correct,
sides to develop the
correct.
career. So how can they convince them regarding this?
Well, that's a tough one, because the proof of whatever you're thinking lies in the pudding, as they say. So I would say that, see, everybody goes through these phases. I think it is important to have a very transparent conversation and discuss the actual plan with parents. See, parents, whatever field they may be, they could belong to completely diverse sectors, but they can definitely, they have the acumen to understand what the child or what the aspiring entrepreneur is trying to say. So discussing the plan with parents and giving the parents a clear roadmap of what is going to be my cost and what is going to be my return. Now, where are parents majorly concerned? Where it is a very, very capital intensive venture. It is extremely correct on behalf of the parents to be tensed about these things, because invested money, if the venture doesn't run, can go, I mean, it is a loss, right? Now, for such ventures, I think it is good for the entrepreneur to first, like I said, gather their own source of fund, and it becomes a conversation is much easier if you tell your parents that, look, I have worked for 3 years, I have so many savings, I am going to use these savings into my venture. If I fail, I go back to my job. If I succeed, obviously it's a very good thing. Or the other route could be that, look, I am starting something which has very minimal capital investment, so even if I fail, it's okay, I'm not losing anything much. Because see, services, I'll give you my personal example. When I started out as an entrepreneur, I told my family that this is going to be a absolutely low capital intensive business. I will start from home. I don't need an office. I just need an internet connection. I need a laptop. I don't even need staff to begin with. I just will utilize my network and I will do the running around. So there is a much lesser resistance to this type of venture than to say that, okay, I'm going to put in 50 lakhs and, procure material. I'm going to put in, a large amount which is prone to, which is not tried and tested. So either have your, or else the other, nowadays it's even easier that you have incubation cells where you test your ideas, market test them, let the experts validate them for you. So people who really want to do capital intensive business, because a lot of businesses are going to be like that, ऐसे हम नहीं बोल सकते कि हम ऐसा वाला business ही नहीं करेंगे, but then validate this proper, एक उसका P&L बना के, proper cash flow बना के, run it past experts, go to participate. Such students should participate in these startup competitions, go to incubation cells, get their ideas validated. When industry experts say, wow, this is a workable idea, good idea, tell me which parent is going to say no.
Thank you, ma'am. This makes sense.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Myself Mayuri from PGPLN, and I have one question. As
Hi,
you
Mayuri.
explained, thank you. As you have explained in starting about Nika and Sugar Cosmetics, but as the market is very competitive, Then how did sugar cosmetics become so popular, and what kind of strategy one can use if someone
Oh,
wants to enter the market?
okay. So, tell me one thing. Do you know what is the price range of sugar, if at all you're aware? Is it a high-end
Uh,
product or is it a low-end
no,
product?
no, it is affordable for
Exactly.
someone.
So the part of your answer lies in the segment that she has chosen. High-end products are typically very difficult to scale because buyers are less in that segment. When you have an affordable brand which talks about good quality and yet being affordable and being available, distribution, so product, so all your four P's of marketing: good product, good price, good place, good promotion. Very simple. Four P's, four, seven, वो seven हो गए, I think, right? Or whatever. All those P's of marketing come into picture.
Yes, ma'am.
So do we have any other questions from you people? I think there are no questions. So we can wrap up today's session.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I hope it was insightful and I hope I've been able to help in some small way. Always happy to come back to the alma mater and contribute.
Thank you so much. It's really very simple and easy to understand. So many times, what happens when we have many sessions and it's too like many times difficult for students to even understand and relate with the session, right? But today's session was quite relatable and easy to understand. But again, it was insightful as well. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye bye.
Sandeep,
Yeah, man. Man, there's a vote of thanks. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such a precious time. And thank you, Ambuja, ma'am, for inviting her to our for our webinar. And I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest, esteemed speaker, Nupura Nanivadekar, for such a valuable insight with us today. The experience in banking, fintech, digital transformation, as well as your journey into entrepreneurship has truly inspired all of us and given us a deeper understanding of the evolving financial landscape. I would like to thank our faculty member, Professor Anguja Agarwal, for making this session possible, and all the participants for being such an attentive and enthusiastic audience. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for like you said, thank you for the audience. Thank you for being there. I know it's 8 o'clock. Thank you for being there. And would love to hear any feedback or anything that you would have liked me to add, so that if at all we do any such sessions, not just in CISCOMs or somewhere else, it will help me also. So if there is any feedback that you get, Professor Agarwal, do let me know.
sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, ma'am.